All right, so Mike, tell us about yourself.
It started about 12 years ago. Lost my job. Didn't want to really work for anybody else anymore after losing my job. Got a divorce and all that just because of it. And so one day my friend says like, "Why don't you do tattoos, man? That's a, you can be your own boss." And that was it. And since then I was, just been nothing but trying to achieve the best I can.
Awesome, Mike. So how long have you been tattooing?
Almost 12 years. Almost seemed like yesterday.
That's what's up, bro. I really like how you're stepping it up every tattoo.
Thank you. Thank you. I try to, you know, constantly get better. Every tattoo, you got to constantly try to level up. You don't want to go downhill.
Good advice. So, what made you decide you wanted to make the Centri tattoo machine?
Well, I think in 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago now, I decided that I wanted to get some other kind of product or something out there in my industry that I can still make money on if for anything was to happen to me. If I lose my hand, if I can't see anymore, can't tattoo, at least I have something that I can still make money with. And I wanted to stay in this industry. I love this industry. And there's all these beautiful machines out there, but you walk into like Sharper Image and you see products on their shelves that are just already products on the market, but just completely ass like backwards, different designs of them that are just really unique. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to build like a machine that's just so far away from everyone else that would just draw the attention. And basically, I just kind of started tinkering around and ended up with the Century.
Man, that thing looks like a goddamn spaceship. It's fucking cool.
A lot of people think it looks like a transformer or something. I like the futuristic look. So I wasn't trying to copy a transformer. I just like that style. I like the Lamborghini look.
Cool. All right, so now I want to talk about some of the tips or techniques or any kind of advice that you would like to give out to some of these artists that have just started to get into portraits and realism. Maybe some things that you found in your experience as a tattoo artist.
I think when I started going from just tattoos to trying to do realism, I think my first problem was that I was starting with a liner in my hand. Um, I don't know how other people tattoo. I can't really tell you that this is the way to go. But my problem is that I would start off just like every other tattoo, typically with a liner in my hand. And next thing I know, I had lined too much, and that completely destroyed the realism of it because there shouldn't be hard lines where there should be soft lines. And so basically, what I started doing was I would just do roses, and I wouldn't even use a liner. I would just straight out throw a 17 mag in there and do the tattoo with just a mag only. I would edge with the mag if I had to for sharper areas. Um, and eventually I just got comfortable and it almost felt like I was just painting on canvas with just a big brush. I would have to utilize the angles of the needle to get areas that I needed to get into if I had to. And I wouldn't use multiple mags. I set myself up with like a 15 or a 17 mag and that's all I use. And I make myself have to work with that one needle to get in the tight areas or, to smooth out big areas. And eventually it just became, I don't know, like a style that you get comfortable with, just like anything else. You do it long enough, you just real comfortable with it. You enjoying what you're producing. That's about it. I don't know, but like I said, don't follow my rules. Everyone's different. You gotta do what feels right to you. But those were my mistakes getting into realism. Was I had to put the liner down. Now I still use liners for, white touch-ups, highlights, whatever. Or if there's just super tiny little areas you gotta, saturate, I'll use a liner. But I never really pick it up unless it's towards the end for just details and highlights. That helps me.
All right, Mike, you got any advice on tattoo stenciling?
Um, what I normally do is that, I put my stencil on there and then bad habit of mine is I tell them, I'm going to go have a cigarette and then I'm going to come back and hurt you. But that usually gives enough time for that stencil to just kind of, marinate itself under the skin. And what I try not to do is, when I very first start the tattoo, is I'm just, a lot of people like to cover the whole thing with Vaseline and start going at it. I only work and cover the areas that I'm, going to complete. When I start anything realism, I put my stencil on and I start at the bottom and I finish everything as I go up the tattoo. That way I'm never having to go here, up here, wipe, and then screw yourself later down the road. If you're going to clean, try to be careful. Just wrap your finger with, the paper towel, damp it, wet, and just wipe away the areas you're working. Try to avoid any areas until you get to it. That will help save your stencil. Also, the electron, we make our own stuff at the shop too. That's just made out of like a little spice, melt down. Careful with what you're doing. That's your only thing. Once you put a stencil on, you start a realism picture. You can't line that fucker up again. Well, excuse my language, but it's a bitch to put it back on. I mean, it can be done, but it's a bitch. You don't want to have to. You don't have to. Just complete everything as you go along. Don't even touch the tattoo above it with the with the stencil eyes. That's what I try to do. Sometimes you get a client, I got to go to the restroom, and then they touch it and smear or something, but shit happens.
Okay. So one of the questions a lot of the artists are having is, how do they make those really smooth gray tones in the portraits, in their cheeks and all that good stuff?
Again, a lot of people tattoo differently. A lot of people always tend to say, oh, running your tube is cheating, or it's just not correct tattooing. I don't care what they say. If it comes out the way I like it, I'm going to do it. So normally when I do soft grays, or I need smooth blends, I lower my needle up a little bit and all slow rotations. A lot of people try to fan fast, thinking that this is going to give them smooth transition, and all you're doing is just going click, 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 click. And then you better hope in hell that you don't land in those same holes again, because they're just going to keep getting darker and darker. But what I do is I just do slow, small rotations as I sticking out, maybe or a 3/16, not very far. And then I wipe it. I just do a small area and wipe it and see, what did I just do to the skin, This is in an area that doesn't matter. And then I can tell, just by doing little spots here and there, I can say what this speed, this rotation will cause. Once I just repeat that in that same area. And then if I need to fade out, I'll slowly start to widen my circles and speed up. Are you there? If they turn the machine on fast and just don't slow rotations and circles.
Give us some tips on tattooing eyes.
Again, you want to very, carefully, when you get ready to do your eyes, is just focus on the eye. Don't look at it as an eyeball. Look at all the shapes and different shades of colors and patterns and stuff that make up the whole eye itself when you look down at it really close. Those are the things you need to pay attention. Don't look as a whole eye at itself every time you go to look at an area. Just look at the specific area, the shape of it, the tone that it's in, and eventually when you reproduce all those in a jam back, you have the eye perfectly as you see it on the page. Just, I don't know, maybe that's me, but I never look at it as an eye or nose or lips. I look at it shapes, different shades of tones.
All right, so now let's talk about the Centri tattoo machine. How does it work?
I got my patent not too long ago, so I don't mind sharing this information with you guys. This is basically what's inside of a Centri machine. Just a simple motor with an offset weight, just like a typical rotary. This is what usually drives your camshaft, but what I do is I turn it around and I put my needle bar on this end, so when this spins, and I have it mounted basically where my fingers are, inside of a housing like this, okay, two bearings, basically when that weight spins, it causes this housing to go back and forth from centrifugal force from the weight being offset. That means when I go and I grab this, the motor, the weight, everything inside this housing is still spinning freely. There's no tension or damage or stress on the motor. You let go, the G-forces take it right back into the stroke you want. All that fits inside of this little housing here. Okay? You can see that's where the little square block is inside of there. You see how it just rotates inside of the housing. Oh, it's a whole nother, yeah, like I said, it's a tattoo machine like you would see in you know, Sharper Image magazine or something. Basically, it comes with an LED light as well. This LED light can retract forward. You can adjust this to any position you want. My next version, I'm going to have it to where it only goes to here. Right now, it can kind of just rest on your grip or your hand or whatever. If you're tattooing, you just press it up as you rinse your cup or whatever. If you really don't want it, take it right off. It's held on by magnets. Goes right on, comes right off. Another thing too, these lights are, you know, they're basically just all held together with magnets. I don't suggest pulling them apart, throwing them around, slapping them on metal plates and stuff because it's, you know, it's still fragile. It's, you know, I make them by hand. These things aren't indestructible. The RC on the back here, it rotates, it pivots 45 degrees. Okay. Basically, when you're tattooing, it just sits there like this, you know. When you're tattooing, you don't even know. But if you go to set your machine down, the cord can bend like this. You don't have to lay it on its side or upside down or anything. It pretty much goes anything. If you're tattooing and the cord's hitting on something, you won't even feel the drag of it hitting your table or whatever because it just goes with the flow of your hand. I like that one too. It has this little spring mechanism here that brings this little place up. That's basically where you hook your rubber band. You let go and it pulls the rubber band right around the needle bar. This little knob here, that will move a magnet closer or farther away from the magnet that's mounted to the housing right there. Okay. The distance that would adjust your stroke. The farther the magnets right now are pulling in towards each other, but they can't really touch unless you adjust the stroke all the way. It will actually connect the two magnets and you won't get any stroke. But as soon as you start pulling the magnet apart, the stroke will start getting wider and wider and wider. And basically, even if I, you know, take it like this, as soon as I let go, it bounces right back into place. You know, this basically just keeps everything in order. Because if you don't have these and you turn it on with that offset weight, this thing is going to go crazy. The G-forces alone are just going to bang it all up against the housing and stuff. So we have to have some kind of a tension to keep it in check. We just discovered this little centrifugal force for these machines, and we're still, you know, this is a beautiful machine. It runs great, but we haven't perfected this. We won't perfect this for another 10, 20 years. Who knows? It's basically, this technology can be put into artificial hearts if we wanted to, because it's just a wobble that can push two walls back and forth, that can suck and push blood if we, you know. I've had people come up to me for this concept for all kinds of different things. I mean, you can make a really amazing dildo, I'm sure, out of it too. But, you know, if you get that thing vibrating good enough, it'll pound and won't burn your motor out. But that's basically what it is. You know, it's just a completely different way of, not a different way of tattooing, but a whole other way of looking at tattoo machines. It's to basically open another door to where we can explore new ways of getting ink in the skin. A lot of people tell me it hurts less and it heals quicker. I've tattooed myself with it, and I've gotten tattooed by other artists with it, and I notice that it actually just feels smoother. It feels like it goes in the skin and leaves the skin smoother. It still hurts, but it doesn't feel like it's hitting me like a jackhammer. But I think overall the subtle vibration of this actually makes it feel better for the client, because I notice when the tube or the needle hits the skin, the client can feel the vibration of the machine, and it actually subsides the pain, the initial sharp impact. It subsides that little vibration takes away. So I find that interesting too. So down the road, we're gonna have all kinds of, you know, new ideas and stuff coming out for these. It's like opening it, you know, it's discovering new technology and what it can do. It's amazing. I just got lucky, man. I took a little motor that was hanging on 2 wires already from Radio Shack, and I put it up to a battery just to see, you know, what it could do. And it was basically a motor for a pager. So it already had an offset weight mounted to it. It was a tiny little thing, about this big. I thought the 9-volt battery was below it. You know, I was like, let's put it up and see what it can do. But that's when I noticed when it was hanging from those 2 wires. So when I saw the whole motor housing pivot like this from the 2 wires it was hanging from, and that's when it just clicked. I was like, wait a minute, if I put 2 bearings right there and, and have the wires not hanging from the wires, but just the motor saying the bearings, that motor can only go in 2 directions from that weight. And if I put the needle on the other side, booyah. So it was a stroke of luck, dude.
Awesome. So how do these guys get more info on your Centri tattoo machines?
I would recommend, if you're interested, is go to YouTube and search in YouTube for Centri Tattoo, CENTRITATTOO, one word, and you'll see all these videos come up about the machine. I explain how it works. I would suggest watching those first to see if it's something you're really interested in, because it's not your typical machine you could just pick up and start tattooing with it. It's something you really want to look at and say, can I use this? Is it going to help me? I don't want to just sell machines to make money. I want to make, I want people to buy these machines because they want to use it and utilize it. I'm not trying to sell it to scratchers or anything, That's another reason why they're kind of expensive. They're $575. You can buy them at my website, www.centritattoo.com. Pretty much PayPal only. I do ship worldwide. I don't use distributors. I don't want anybody getting their hands on this and reverse engineering it or anything. It's only a matter of time when it does. I can't stop it, but eventually they'll be out there. But if I don't use distributors, I don't have to worry about it. If you didn't buy your machine from me, it's fake. Unless you got an absolute trade from somebody who bought it from me originally, and it's not new, you didn't get it from me, it's a fake. Plain and simple. I use distributors, but right now I just don't even want to mess with it. I'm too young in the industry to even have my ass kicked, handed to me by a fake yet. So
I feel it. All right, Mike. Well, we got to close this interview up now. For all of you guys interested in the Centri tattoo machines, check out CentriTattoo.com. Also, give this man Mike Snijder a follow on Facebook and Instagram. Once again, this is Dax McClellan with the Realistic Portrait System. Peace.